Hi, everyone, wherever you are. My name is Martha Capo, Martha Kirby Capo, and I am here today to talk about a book that I've got coming out with my co author, Vincent Higginbotham. It will be out in April 2023. It's called Thrifty Witchery Magic for the Penny Pinching Practitioner. There's a lot of P's in that, which I kind of like. I like alliteration. What this book is about essentially is self empowerment and hand in hand with that, abundance. And so I want to talk about the title a little bit. Hey, Raina. I want to talk about the title a little bit, the back part of it, where it says a penny pinching practitioner, because that's true. There's information in this book about how to empower your witchery without a big expense of money. But the other part of that is being able to switch your way that you're moving and being and having your way in the world so that you see it with a sense of abundance. So that when you look around you, what you are able to see is just fields and fields and fields of items and essences and energies that can feed your magic that you're not having to spend a lot of money on because it's all around you. That's what Thrifty Witchery really is about, as well as the self-empowerment, as I was talking about. And the self-empowerment is a very big, big part of simple witchery. Vincent and I have worked together before, and we had been talking, I guess, a couple of years ago or so about some of our philosophies of witchcraft. And as we had these conversations, we came to realize that even though we come from very different backgrounds, very different paths, and we are very different, there were still some things that were in common in our philosophies that transcended it transcended age, transcended economics, transcended particular paths. And we thought, there's enough here that we think we can make a book out of this. And Llewellyn agreed. And so we got together and worked on this book. And I want to talk a little bit about the self-empowerment aspect of it, because particularly here in the United States, we are given messages of disempowerment all the time. Some of us have stronger messages of disempowerment than others of us, but all of us are receiving those messages of disempowerment. You're not enough. You're not magical enough. You're not doing it right. You don't have the right stuff. It should be this. You should be doing that. You ought to be creating your spells this way. This is the one way to do it, or this is the other choice that you can do, but you had to pick one of these couple of ways to do this. You should. And we feel like you won't really come into your power as a magic maker until you get out of a mindset of it should be and embrace a mindset of it could be. What could it be? And when you are able to empower yourself to think in terms of not what some curated image on Instagram or some highly edited and refined message or not that you're getting on Facebook, that's when you're able to step out from this disempowerment. And I want to come back to the Instagram thing because there's a lot of folks out there, they're not trying to disempower you. They're not trying to do that. But because we have come up in a society that already tells us we're not enough, we take that on ourselves. And that's the thing that has to twist. That's the thing that has to break. That we don't give the locus of our power, that we don't allow others, sometimes people we will never meet or see in our lives, we don't allow others to define for us what our magic is. Our magic is valid because it's our magic. You don't have to, you talk about people who say, I want to have power. It's not about having power. You are the power. You're the power. That's what this book is talking about. That, and I love my things. You know, I love my things. I love my things. But as Vincent has said somewhere in the book, you know, you're not a bone witch. You're not a cauldron witch. You're not an athame witch. You're a witch. These other things are there to help you channel or focus your power. But that power comes from inside of you. It's you. And that can be a very different way of identifying where your power is as a witch. And it can be a little daunting. It can be a little scary. Because we have come up in this society that disempowers us, when we grab our power, we take our power, and then we throw that stuff out there, that is a real declarative act. That is an act that not only is a declaration of who you are and how you are and what you are, but it's also a declaration that you're going to stand in that power. This is me. I'm going to be seen. This is who I am. And your approval of that, that's your problem. That is not my problem. And getting to that place can be a trick for us. And so the very first half of this book is really going to be about self-empowerment and how do we feed that self-empowerment? How do we break some of these cycles of disempowerment that we may not even be aware of? We talk about intangibles and tangibles in this book. We talk about empowerment being fed through 3 metaphysical components, which we've identified as intuition, wisdom, and intention. And we look at how all of those things can be strengthened, what relationship each of those things has with each other. What is the relationship of your intention to your wisdom? What's the relationship of your wisdom to your intention? How do they feed one another? I would say it's so often and again in Western society that we tend to think of things in terms of rungs on a ladder. That's not what this is. We're talking like a big level playing space where everybody's kind of slipping and slopping on top, like a petri dish, on top of with a lot of viscous material, all kind of slopping around together. When we develop our intuition, how is that fed by our wisdom? When we formulate our intention, which is a distillation of our intuition and our wisdom, how is that propelled by these 2 other intangibles out into the physical world? When we think about abundance, this is one of the things I think about with abundance, is that we take so much for granted. And we kind of have to. I mean, we can't be hyper alert all the time because you would be exhausted. But there's so much that we take for granted. We take the power of our words for granted. I mean, there's so... When Vincent and I tell you that you are magic, you're magic. Everything you're doing is magic. These words coming out of my mouth are magic. These thoughts in my head, you had no idea until I was able to articulate them, throw them out of my mouth, and give them to you. And now they're a thing. Now we're all sharing an idea. What's not to love? I mean, how is that not magical? And how are we acting on that? Even the very words you say are magical. You don't have to have special words. Your words are magical. If you have special words that you have created as you're creating your intention, they're still your words. They're still the way you're putting it together. They're still the way that you're visualizing and trying to make everything match up that's intangible with what the manifestation, the tangible manifestation you want to have. And I am not convinced that many witches get that. I'm just not. And so Vincent and I really are of a mind on this, and that was one of the propulsions for this book, to really show people that you got it. I mean, you got the stuff. It's just connecting to it. It's just figuring out what your connection is to it, and how to make that connection become pliant, supple, facile, a way for you to tap into your magic all the time. And we all know the old saying, the witch isn't what you're putting on you. You the witch. It's you. The back half of the book goes into how we use our intuition, wisdom, and intention to then forage, find, and fabricate our tools, which again is a way of manifesting this intangible magic into something that is tangible, that will work for you in your magic. Now, again, I'm not saying, we need to support our witchy and pagan crafters and creators, artists. I mean, who doesn't want something by Laura Tempest Zakroff? Holy cow. She's great. But there's a lot of times where you can be taking something that's already in your house and repurposing that item, cleansing and reimagining that item to empower your magic. We talk a lot about looking with a witch's eyes at the things around you, things in the back of your closet, things in your junk drawer, maybe herbs in your pantry that you already have, but they're out of expiration for cooking, but that doesn't mean that they're any less potent. We talk about those of you who wear makeup, then you have to replace makeup every 6 months or so for hygiene reasons. But you can repurpose that and do something else with it. So it's a way, again, of looking around you and not saying, what do I lack? What don't I have? Why isn't my stuff as nice as everybody else's stuff? It's looking around and saying, what do you have? Look at all the stuff you have. And then bending that stuff, twisting that stuff, pulling that stuff to match up with what your will is, to use that. Just like, wise women and cunning men of old, they didn't go off someplace else for something. They worked with what they had. That's what they had. And how would your magic practice change? How would that change if, as a first choice, you said, I'm going to craft my own tools, instead of crafting your own tools and looking at it as a poor second place to buying something? What would change about the way that you're doing it and how you live your magic? What would change if you looked around you and thought, I can make something out of that. I can make something out of that. And if that was a first choice, not because you were too poor or didn't have the budget to go buy something, but because you knew that all this stuff that you're surrounded with, everything in your house, that has your energetic signature already imbued in it. Bed sheets, clothing, shoes, string, things that are in your house, you live with, you interact with, you don't even think about it. Because again, we can't be thinking about this all the darn time. Our little heads would explode, or mine would. But how would your magic change if you went into your junk drawer, or you went into the back of your closet and you looked at that stuff with a witch's eyes? How it could be used in your practice. And I think that's a profound change. And it sounds like such a it sounds like such a small reframing, but it's so critical. It's so important. And so many of the big changes in our magic can happen when there's a little change, just a little alteration in the way that you're looking at things. If I and I don't want to get into the law of attraction here. I have an uneasy relationship with the law of attraction, but I do think that if we are looking around us and seeing the things around us in terms of abundance and opportunity and potential, if we're on the lookout for the potential of things, we might be more easily able to see the potential in things. If we walk past it and think, there's that shirt that I used to love, but I can't wear it anymore because it's too tatty even for the house. But I can't bear to get rid of it because I have so many wonderful memories with it. What happens? What happens if you look at that garment again and think about how to incorporate it into your magical practice, which might involve snipping out the unworn, the unstained parts, making a tarot bag? What happens when you have, again, come back to sheets, your favorite sheets, and they are too worn now to be used anymore, but they've got all that energy. It's been with you. It's been with you. They are loaded up with your DNA and your energetic signature. What happens if you decide, okay, I'm going to cut out part of that, like along the edge, sew up an edge on it and use it as an altar cloth? It already has your energy in it because you lived with it. It's part of you. And for me and for Vinny too, this is a way of looking at the world in terms of being really congruent with your surroundings, congruent with the energies that you fostered around you, and manipulating those in ways that are creative, pretty darn cheap, but no less powerful because they're your things. So you get to say, just like with your magic, it's your magic. You get to say, it's you. You get to make that look like anything that you want. I feel like I'm quoting a movie here. You can make that do what you want it to do. You have the flexibility and you have the power to do that. It's not because you're getting power from someplace else. It's because you are the power. You are the power. You don't need anything more than you. Now, we want more, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the thrust of this book is essentially sort of a cri de coeur, urging people not to get caught up in the sparkly, bobbly, pretty things and think that you don't have any validity because you don't have that. That's not how that works. You have validity. You are valid. And your magic is valid. And your magic is yours to manipulate and to empower and to go out there and manifest your will into the world the way that you want to. responsibly, but the way that you want to, essentially. And that is my 20 minutes. I told Anna I would be happy to open up the forum for some comments, your own experiences or questions. I'm a little bit far away from my monitor, so you will see me leaning forward and making funny faces as I try to read, because apparently I need better bifocals. You're welcome, Shauna. Thank you. Oh, see, that's great. Rhiannon, I love that. Rhiannon says, I use dryer lint for family protection wards. It has everything in it. That is just exactly what I'm talking about. Because what do? We throw the dryer lint away. We're like, well, we better get rid of that. It's fire hazard. And, it is. But think about what's in that dryer lint. And not to be too ooky, but you've got dried skin flakes in there. Very likely, you probably have some whatever leftover remnant of body fluids, some sort of body fluid, sweat, we'll say sweat, in there. That she's exactly right. It's leached it out of whatever that fabric was in that dryer. I love that, Rhiannon. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I can't show you the book, Patty, because we haven't got the cover quite finalized yet. The title is Thrifty Witchery, Magic for the Penny Pinching Practitioner. I have seen what is almost the final cover, and Vincent and I both just love that cover, but it's not quite finalized yet, so I can't show it to you, but soon. Thank you, Pamela. We really worked hard. Benny and I worked really hard on this. I've had some people ask me what the process was like, because some writers who write together, they'll do it section by section. And Vincent and I don't work that way. We had some sections where we said, okay, you're going to do that, and I'm going to do this. But then when it came to editing, we flipped it. And so there are sections in there where you'll have 2 or 3 sentences, and he and I can tell you who got 3 words and who got 6 words and who got 5 words. But it really is like that through parts of the book where we meshed together very, very well. And it was an interesting process, because we had some things that we disagree on. And so how do we present the thought in a way that honors both of our truths, yet still is robust enough to make sense? And we approached this book with the idea of perfect love and perfect trust. And it was not about me, and it was not about Vincent. It was about the book. And so that helped an awful lot, because I knew Vincent had the integrity of the book as his highest goal. That was what he wanted to manifest, was the integrity of the book. Vincent knew that the integrity of the book was what I wanted to manifest. And so it made those small we had 1 or 2 sticking places. It made it, it imbued us with the energy to get through some uncomfortable conversations without just completely losing our minds, and still having respect for each other, and still respecting each other when we got to whatever the compromise was. So that was pretty cool. Rachel wanted to know well, thank you. It resonates with me too. We think the book, we're pretty sure the book's coming out in April 2023. That's the last that we heard. I think it's like April 14th or something like that, 2023. We'll certainly let you know. Vincent is all over Instagram and LinkedIn, and I think he's on TikTok and Twitter and all this stuff. Facebook, not Facebook so much. I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram, and I was on Twitter, but recently elected no longer to be on that platform. And TikTok is just old lady here, that I'm not doing that. Or if I do it, I'm going to do it very poorly. Oh, Brandy, that's exactly right. Brandy writes that she was raised by her grandmother, who grew up in the Depression. And so this subject is extremely close to her heart. And I, too, was raised by my grandparents. My parents divorced when I was 10, and we moved back in with my mother's parents. And they were both children of the Depression. So we washed tinfoil and folded it and saved it. And I still save rubber bands. I still wash my tinfoil. we save string. You know, you made do with what you had, and that has been that we live again in a society that tells us, okay, one and done. You know, you use that, okay, now we're going to get rid of that. It's like, you know, no, we shouldn't be doing that. Wow, Serena, thank you. Serena says she just pre-ordered it and it's scheduled for April 12th or 13th. That was close. It's the 14th, but it's really the 13th. That's cool. Very cool. Honey Sons asks, maybe an odd question, but do you have thoughts about using Christmas, Yule, tree needles, branches, etc., in spells and such? I do. Because again, when you have these Yule needles, think of all the energy that is focused toward that, all the hopefully happy feelings that are going on around Yule and Christmas. And my birthday happens to be a week before Christmas. And so a big thing in my house was that we would decorate the Christmas tree for my birthday party. And so there's a lot, and you think about what you're doing, if you're lucky, around Christmas and Yule, you have opportunities to kind of look at the tree with the lights on. There's a lot of love and good energy going toward that tree. And so for me, with like the used pine needles, that's very evocative, not only with the scent, because, you know, scent is one of our strongest triggers for memory. But just the love that is in that. I think that's very powerful. We talk about energies aligning. I talk about in my second book, I talk a lot about energies that are aligning. And to me, that is a way, that's an example of energies that have lined up, and then you're able to access those again and use those pine needles, you know, either in your cauldron, you can use them in future fires. You know, that I think absolutely you can reuse those, and to good effect. Annette says, I was just thinking about this last week. Yes, we've connected. Yes, that's true. Oh, and Brandy asks, what do I plan to do for my next project? I'm currently working on a book that is tentatively titled Quantum Magic, and I am looking at there's a school of thought out in Witchland that magic is science that is not yet explained, and I don't think that. I think science is science and magic is magic. But I do think that if we have a layperson's understanding of quantum mechanics, some of the principles of quantum mechanics, what's happening at the quantum mechanic level, I think that we can have a layperson's knowledge of that and transliterate that over into our magic making. It doesn't make magic science, because I'm not on that train. But I don't think, I do think that you can have a layperson's understanding of what's going on in quantum mechanics that really helps inform and helps you visualize what's happening as you're making magic. And who knows when that book is coming out, because I'm still working on that. Let's see. Has there been anything, Rhiannon asks, has there been anything you've reused and realized it was a bad idea? And do you cleanse the things that you reuse? I do cleanse the things that I reuse because I just think it's after you've manipulated them into whatever it is you're going to be using them again. I think you can cleanse them. Now, I don't do like a deep, heavy cleanse, because I want to keep those energies with which it has been imbued. Particularly if it's something that I'm reusing in the house. And so now we get into gradations of cleansing, you know, like what does that mean if you don't want to really, you know, cleanse them all that hard? I think like a few hours, if it's something that can be in the sun, and some things cannot, that can be one way to just sort of give a 30 minutes or so, just a light sun bath to help cleanse things. A lot of times I'll do breathing because I have a very strong belief in the magic of my breath, magic of everybody's breath. which is transformative. Things that are happening in your body and then coming back out again. There's a transformation that's happening there that's just alchemical. And so if I'm trying to cleanse something with my breath, I'm cleansing it. I'm taking it in. I'm using my lungs, my body, everything as a giant, filter. But then I'm also breathing back out my essence as I'm cleansing this thing. So it still is seated in my energetic signatures, if that makes any sense at all. Einstein was a witch. Rhiannon, I think that's probably I think there were aspects, when I think about quantum mechanics and when I think about witchery, I do think that there are some shared. I think there are some shared openness of mind, I guess I would say, a willingness to. I think there's a shared willingness to go where the energy takes you and see what's there. I will say that, and I guess that's a part of a way on the science side. If you're talking about a hypothesis, once a scientist is able to formulate a hypothesis, that then goes out to other scientists to see if they can reconstruct that. That's part of what makes that science. Is you have to have reproducible results, which you will never have in magic. You will never have reproducible results because each of us is so unique. And so what works for me isn't going to work for the next person. But the thing that's in common, I think, is, again, this willingness to follow the energy, where it goes, see where it takes you. And if where it takes you is where you want to go, then we know that's a good spell for you. If it's not, it's going back and trying again. Just like a scientist goes back and says, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try this. Again, I don't think science and magic are the same thing, but I think some of the methodologies have at least a passing resemblance to each other. Oh, running low on time. Oh, one more question. Okay. Oh, hi, Iowa. Oh, Iowa Paganism. Oh, I used to live in Iowa. I was in Cedar Rapids for 7 years. So, hello, Iowa. And I'm being told we need to wrap this up. So I am going to wrap this up because you guys have things to do. I have things to do. I appreciate your time with me. Again, the book is Thrifty Witchery, Magic for the Penny Pinching Practitioner. Those of you who are going to be at Mystic South next month, Vincent and I will both be there. We'll be talking about the book a little bit, and I'll be talking more about the quantum magic book as well. And thank you so much to Anna and the team at Llewellyn. You guys have just been amazing. And have an excellent rest of LlewellynCon.